What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake and Kyle coming back at you today with more rankings. It's the end of March. We are, what do we call it? Post-free agency-ish, right? Because there's still a few guys to sign, and there's still a few names, but I don't think it's really going to affect the rankings that much unless something totally crazy happens. So today, we're talking about our top 30 running backs so far here for 2021 fantasy football. Kyle is laughing, and you know what? I'm not even going to cut this because I'm going to tell you probably why Kyle is laughing. Before this show, before I hit start recording, we had talked about how funny it would be.
You can't. No, don't tell him.
Why? Don't tell him?
No, because we're going to try and do it sometime.
Okay. It's funny, but I don't...
Let your mind
wander?
Just let it wander.
Yeah, let it wander. Okay.
There's something wrong with me tonight.
Yeah, there is. He's in a great mood, which is good for you guys because he's entertaining. Yeah. So we never know what's going to happen in the next 30 minutes.
I'm going to open the door.
Okay, that's weird. Number one, though, because we're going to start off number one because we already disagree, Kyle. We're not even one spot into the rankings, and we already disagree, even though it's not by very much. I have Christian McCaffrey at number one. You have Dalvin Cook. I think the year of injury of Christian McCaffrey kind of slightly helps him because he was so overworked for a few years. The guy needed some rest anyway. He should come back fully healthy, and when he does play, puts up huge numbers.
Yeah, and that's why I have him at number two. He'll end up being just fine. Who else do they have there to help out of the backfield? Curtis Samuel's gone, so that's even more targets that we can give to him now. Yeah. I'm just going Dalvin Cook because of how uber efficient he is on the field, and he's just been one of the best running backs in the league the last 2 years.
Honestly, the top 3 or 4 names, maybe 5 that we're going to talk about are there's no wrong answer here, but what you will see, and this is a little bit of a teaser, as we get down these rankings, you're going to notice why it's going to be super, super important to get some running backs early, because there's a lot of guys in some bad situations this year, and it's hurting a lot of value. So for me, number 2, we're moving down. Derrick Henry. For me, this is where you have Christian McCaffrey. We just talked about him, but for me, Derrick Henry is just safe. I mentioned in our quarterback video that I had to drop down Ryan Tannehill because we have no Jonnu Smith. We have no Corey Davis. Derrick Henry's going to touch the ball 30 times a game almost. I mean, there's not a whole lot of other options built in as of right this second. So for me, Derrick Henry going number 2.
And before anyone argues, well, nobody does anything after running for 2,000 yards. Nobody that's run for 2,000 yards is built like Derrick Henry, ladies and gentlemen. The man doesn't wear down. You know why? Because he runs you over. He doesn't get tackled. He basically falls to the ground when someone gets in his way.
Yeah, there isn't too many people like that on planet Earth. He inflicts more pain than the pain that he feels.
Yes.
Number 3, this is where I have Dalvin Cook. Obviously, we love Dalvin Cook. You have Saquon Barkley at number 3, which I do love. It's slightly spicy, but it's only slightly spicy because everybody is burnt because of what happened last year. He started off horrible. His yards per carry were like in the ones when he was playing last year, and then the season-ending injury happened. He's still a young kid, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime talent, and now that the offense is finally good in New York, we're going to bail on Saquon Barkley. I am a few spots lower, but I love him at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon Barkley is going to go. I mean, he's going to probably be a top 5 pick. There's going to be some people that take him 1 overall. There might be some people that take him shortly after that. But they have weapons, to draw defenders down the field. There's no way you're going to be able to stack boxes on Barkley anymore. And obviously, you throw the ball to him out of the backfield as well. Question is he going to be 100% healthy to begin the season? I believe so. Saw some tape of him working out the other day. Looks to be feeling good.
Yep.
We'll keep an eye on that, though.
Yep, absolutely. Next up, I have Nick Chubb, number 4 of the Cleveland Browns. Everybody knows my love and my bias for Nick Chubb. But let's be realistic. The guy was a top 10 running back and missed 4 games last year. Mm-hmm. He is just crazy efficient. The big plays are there. The touchdowns are there. The receptions out of the backfield, not so much, but the way that offense is built, Nick Chubb's going to get at least 18 touches a week, and he's going to be productive with it. You have Derrick Henry at number 4. We talked about Derrick Henry, nobody else being like him, so really straightforward. But you have Nick Chubb 1 spot lower at number 5, and that's where I have Ezekiel Elliott. I think a lot of people are just off the Zeke bandwagon because of last year, and they forget the fact that he lost an all-pro quarterback and the entire all-pro offensive line at one point. That matters to a running back, and I love Zeke once again, and I will buy him at a discount in 2021.
Yeah, and I mean, I've got him down at 8, and the only reason I've got him at 8 is because I think some of that early pass catching work we saw at the beginning of his career, I think that is kind of over with the wide
Yeah.
receiver talent that they have there now. But I mean, I'll still buy Zeke. I mean, I'll draft Zeke in the first round and be just fine with it, and not argue over it, especially if I've got like a late first round pick.
Perfect.
So yeah, I'm absolutely fine with Zeke there. And just to touch on Nick Chubb, you mentioned 4 to touch on Chubb, just 4 missing
Depends whose
4.
Chubb you're touching.
No Chubb touching here.
Mm.
4 misses 4 games last year. Not only does he still run for over 1,000 yards, missing those 4 games, but he has one of the best backups in the league, Kareem Hunt, taking touches from him as well. And he's still, I mean, he's unstoppable. Draft Nick Chubb and be fine with it.
Yeah,
Do
be
not
happy.
argue with us about Kareem Hunt this year.
No, we've heard it for 2 years. We're over it. We've been
Yep.
right for 2 years, and those who didn't think it was happening have been wrong. Get over it. Number 6, this is where I have Saquon. We talked about Saquon a little bit earlier. You have Alvin Kamara at number 6. I have Kamara at number 7, one spot lower. I obviously I love Alvin Kamara. It just worries me with the quarterback situation. If it's Jameis Winston, I'm a lot more happy than I am if it's Taysom Hill.
And that's the reason why I think Kamara's like ranking right now is kind of just whoop, out the out the door. It's like it's either you're comfortable with it and you're willing to go with it and take Kamara, or there's not going to be any middle ground with Kamara. You either love him and will draft him, or you don't like the situation and you'll stay away from him. There's not going to be any kind of like Kamara. I think we'll see what happens with it. He's either going to go very early in the first, or he's going to go very early in the first. He's still going to be a top running back drafted.
Yep, agreed. I have him one spot lower than you at 7. At 7, you have Aaron Jones, the newly signed Aaron Jones, back to the Green Bay Packers. I wish now that Jamal Williams was gone that we could just say, hey, it is Aaron Jones time. But I know A.J. Dillon's probably still going to be involved in this backfield. But we've seen Aaron Jones put up huge numbers in the past. My biggest gripe with Aaron Jones is that he has those really big games and disappears at times. He'll go out and score 40 points in week 2 and 4 points in week 12. And that's the part that hurts me. But he's obviously a top 10 guy. You got him number 7.
Yeah, and I mean, again, he'll be out there this year. Can he get? He actually ran for more yards this past season and less amount of games, and almost more than 30 less carries at this point. I think it ended up being like 35. The touchdowns weren't quite to those 16; those kind of dropped back to 9. But we warned people about just being careful with that. But yeah, like you said, it seems to come in spurts and every once in a while, and that's what we can't have. 2019 was a little bit better in terms of there being a lot of ups and downs, but I mean, depending on what we see that this season, Aaron Jones might be the Amari Cooper of running backs.
Wow, I like that analogy right there. I like that one. We're going to use that. So I have him one spot lower. It's like we're following each other here. I got him at number 8. 8 is where you have Zeke Elliott. We've talked about him already. Number 9, we agree on number 9 overall. We have Austin Ekeler. A lot of people didn't want to buy into Austin Ekeler last year, and then he ends up getting hurt. But when he plays, he's efficient, and he's involved in the passing game a lot. It's not out of the question for this guy to go out and get 10-plus targets on a week, and that is great if you play in PPR-style leagues.
Yes, and I think they're gonna recommit to trying to really get that run game going this year. I think they got away from it at times last year just because of how good Justin Herbert was, but I think they're going to get back to really committing to making sure the run game is a part of that philosophy with a new coaching staff being there.
Number 10, this is where I have second-year running back Jonathan Taylor, and I'll be completely honest, I don't know if I should put him a little bit lower. I'm starting to get a little bit worried. I do believe it's still his backfield, but they did re-sign Marlon Mack. They still have Naheem Hines. What's going to go on in this backfield? Now, obviously, Jonathan Taylor, he's one of those running backs who's not an Aaron Jones who needs 15 touches to be overly efficient. He needs 20 touches a game. He's that guy who's going to pound you all 4 quarters and really wear you down. And that's where he's going to excel because he's going to outlast you. He needs that volume. And if he doesn't get it, that worries me for right now. I got him at number 10. This is where you have Eagles running back Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I'm liking Miles Sanders with Jalen Hurts. I think if they really incorporate, I mean, Jeffrey Lurie said it. You are building the offense around Jalen Hurts. If you're doing that, you're going to have to incorporate some different RPO type stuff, and I really, really like that for him because it was, I mean, the Dallas defense Used to do that all the time with Dak and Zeke. Now, obviously, this past season, you didn't see as much of it because Dak was hurt. But just look at how good that makes that team and how that can confuse people. They got to rebuild some of those offensive weapons. So are they going to be able to throw the ball as much? I think we're just going to see a whole lot of running this year, and Miles Sanders is going to be smack dab in the middle of it.
I would absolutely love to see that because I believed in Miles Sanders last year and was sorely disappointed. Next up for me, number 11, I have J.K. Dobbins. I don't know. I'd have to go back and check, but I may have him ranked almost higher than anybody in the fantasy football industry, which I don't know if I'm excited about or what it is. I did a video on J.K. Dobbins like a month ago, and ever since I did that, I want a lot of J.K. Dobbins in 2021. Now, I understand that they brought back Gus Edwards, and they love Gus Edwards. No more Mark Ingram. Doesn't really matter. Mark Ingram wasn't really involved last year anyway, but J.K. Dobbins reminds me of one of those guys, kind of like we talked about earlier with Aaron Jones, doesn't need 20, 25 touches a week to be, a fantasy football asset. You get this kid 15 touches and he's so electric and he can make it happen on all 3 downs. I got him at number 11. This is where you have Jonathan Taylor.
I had J.K. Dobbins as a top 12 running back when I did my way too early rankings, like what was like right after the Super Bowl or something like that. So, I mean, I love him. I mean, you and I, when we were at the combine last year, I mean, we were like, oh man, Taylor and Dobbins, it's like 1A, 1B, like both of them are going to be really, really good. Then Dobbins falls to the Ravens, which is just a match made in heaven. But then, the things that concern me, yes, they brought back Gus Edwards. I was really hoping they didn't because they seem to absolutely love that guy and they want to get him touches. But number 2, they really didn't do anything else offensively to help that team. So is it coming in the draft? That's where my concern comes in is, our team's just going to continue to fully commit to stopping the run. And if they do, is that going to hurt Dobbins quite a bit? So I got him quite a bit lower, honestly, at 19, but that could definitely end up changing by the time the draft is done and we get towards the season.
That's right. I'm all aboard the hype train. I'm going to save a spot for you. Number 12. This is where I have David Montgomery, Chicago Bears, and this dude absolutely destroyed the second half of the season. Absolutely destroyed it. And I mean, caught a lot of people off guard because that's kind of what a lot of people expected, a year and a half ago. And then we finally got
off guard because I love D-Mont.
You did it. I believe you made a video telling people to go trade for him in the middle of the year. So I mean, yes, it's crazy. I don't think we were expecting that much though, Kyle. I mean, he went.
I mean, it was
he went crazy. Slap off. But I'm hoping that by that showing at the end of the year that they kind of take that momentum into 2021 and realize that we have to get this guy the ball more often to make things happen in this offense. At number 12, you have second-year running back Cam Akers, who I do not hate whatsoever, in a Los Angeles Rams offense that we're hoping that they can commit to him also.
Yeah, I mean, I love David Montgomery. I've got him at 15. I mean, I have not wavered on this guy being a stud running back at all. I know it's been tough to start. I got him a little bit lower, though, because, I mean, we do have Treat Cohen coming back from injury. Are they going to utilize him? Is Matt Nagy go back to his stupid ways and not utilize David Montgomery the way that he should? But in week 10 last week, David Montgomery was inactive. When he came back in week 12, from week 12 to the end of the season, he was the RB2, 142 half PPR points, 23 points per game. The guy was absolutely amazing. For the love of dear God, Nagy, if you don't give me that type of David Montgomery this year, I'm flying to Chicago and giving you a swift roundhouse right to the sun, where the sun don't shine, because I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd kick him square in the nuts. Just say it, Kyle, because don't ruin this.
Cam Akers is also very good.
Also for Cam Akers, we love Cam Akers. Just get the kid volume. He definitely needs it in that offense. For me, number 13, James Robinson. Please don't go out and do something stupid in Jacksonville and draft a running back early, because I don't want it to be a competition. James Robinson is plenty good enough to take over this backfield for multiple years, address other issues. Please, Jacksonville. I need James Robinson to stay what he was last year. You have Melvin Gordon now without Phillip Lindsay in Denver right here at 13.
Yeah, I mean, James Robinson, I've got at 18, and I don't hate James Robinson at all. I mean, if there's somebody who loves James Robinson, is this guy right here. I just got him a little bit lower because I don't think he's going to get. I think we do see the volume come down a little bit, kind of like what we saw with Joe Burrow this past season, right? We didn't really expect Joe Burrow to throw nearly as much as he did. Does the same thing happen with Trevor Lawrence, where he comes in and they just sling the hell out of the ball? If they
balls
do,
everywhere.
it's going to bring back some of that volume. I don't think he's going to be nearly incorporated into the pass game like he was this past year. So I've got him a little bit lower, but I still like him. I think as your RB2, you're just fine with it. Melvin Gordon at 13, like you said, the key word there, no Phillip Lindsay. He's gone. Melvin Gordon's backfield, terrific weapons there. Can Drew Lock take the step forward? Do they draft a quarterback? He's going to see plenty of volume there.
Yeah, love the opportunity for Melvin Gordon, and I think you'll probably still get him at a discount price on draft day, which isn't bad. For me, 14, CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kansas City Chiefs. This is where you have your boy Joe Mixon. For me, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was grossly overdrafted last year. That was talked about ad nauseum last year. I mean, the amount of hate that we got for CEH was crazy. And now, after last year, Damian Williams opted out. This year, the Chiefs opted out of Damian Williams, right? So there's no Damian Williams there. What's going to happen with Le'Veon Bell? I do believe we see more consistent volume this year for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but in a passing-heavy offense like we see in Kansas City, he just may not see the touchdowns. And that's what I'm worried about. They throw for so many touchdowns, and we know he struggles around the goal line. That could limit that ceiling slightly, but I got him right here at 14. Like I said, you got Joe Mixon right here.
Yeah, with Mixon, I'm not. He's coming back from an injury, and yes, I was a little too overhyped on him last season, but to be fair, we didn't get to see the entire season either. So I will take the L, but I'm not taking a big L like some of you want me to. He's going to get volume. We know Joe Mixon is going to get the ball. It's absolutely going to happen. I think he's safe in terms of the volume. For CEH, though, for me, he could jump a few more spots. I've got absolutely no problem with potentially moving him up into maybe that 13 range by the time this is all said and done. Yes, Damian Williams is gone, but you still have Darrell Williams there who did well in kind of a limited capacity workload last season. I like CEH. I've got absolutely no problems with him. Hopefully we see some of what a lot of people anticipated last year, this year, though.
Yep, agreed. Number 15, this is where I have Cam Akers, so we're not too far off on him. I mean, if they can give this kid 20 touches a game, we saw what he could do last year. And if Matthew Stafford can open up that passing game even more, that's only going to help Cam Akers. This is where you have David Montgomery. Please don't screw that up, Matt Nagy. We've talked about that as well. Number 16, Miles Sanders is where I have him. So I have him a few spots lower. What does that look for?
That was my look at Matt Nagy. When he watches this, he knows I mean business.
Yeah, I may clip it out and just tag him on Twitter just for that reason. Anyway, like I said, 16, I have Miles Sanders, so I have him 6 spots lower than you, but he is somebody who is creeping up the rankings. This is where you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who we just talked about. But 17, we agree again. And 17 is kind of like a wild card, because 17 is Antonio Gibson. And if you told me right now that Antonio Gibson finishes the season as a top 7 running back, I wouldn't think you're crazy. If you tell me that he finishes outside the top 20, I wouldn't think you're crazy either. It can go either way. The talent is great, but the way that the Washington football team is building that team overall, the defense is solid, which is great. Bringing in Ryan Fitzpatrick. They have Terry McLaurin on the outside, who I absolutely love Terry McLaurin this year. Curtis Samuel added in. It's just going to take some of those touches, I think, away from Antonio Gibson, making him slightly more touchdown dependent, but the kid can score touchdowns. So this can go either way, but I got him right here at 17.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything there. And I don't think he sees the type of passing game, type of workload that we would like to see with Ryan Fitzpatrick under center either. So.
Yep. Number 18, this is where I have everybody's most hated fantasy running back after 2020 is Josh Jacobs, because he screwed so many people end of the year. He, at one time gave us all the middle finger on Instagram. He fell on the 1 yard line. Anyway, moving on from Josh Jacobs, now they added Kenyon Drake. That worries me. I don't think it just absolutely kills Josh Jacobs. I don't. I still think he has value. They're trying to keep him healthy and not overwork him. I get it. Adding a Kenyon Drake in this backfield, though, is just something that's going to take away some of those touches. It's going to take away some goal line opportunities, possibly. So I had to drop him down to 18. This is where you have James Robinson, who we already talked about. 19, this is where I have Joe Mixon. I do believe that Joe Mixon has that volume on a weekly basis, but I really want to see what they do in the draft in Cincinnati before I move him higher, because I want him to address the offensive line to try to, help not only Joe Burrow, but help Joe Mixon. So 19 is where I have him. 19, and this is like you said, you had him lower than me. You dropped J.K. Dobbins down to 19, which you explained a little bit earlier. Another one of those guys, though, that I can kind of say similar to him, Kyle, as Antonio Gibson. He can finish top 10, wouldn't be surprised. He can finish outside the top 20, wouldn't be surprised in that either. Total lightning rod. Number 20, though, we agree again. And this is where we have your Detroit Lions. Running back 1A, DeAndre Swift. Now, we were happy. I was happy about DeAndre Swift this year. I was looking forward to it. And then they signed Jamal Williams. I was hoping that DeAndre Swift could go out there and eat kneecaps by himself, but now he's going to have to share the backfield once again with Jamal Williams. So I don't know what to expect.
I love Jamal Williams. I think Jamal Williams is a fabulous running back. I think DeAndre Swift is a fabulous running back. I still think it was a stupid idea to sign him. And if you're a Lions fan and you disagree, I really do not care, because they could have drafted a running back that could have done exactly what Jamal Williams does, and they wouldn't have had to pay Jamal Williams. But it's whatever.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. My only concern is that the new coaching staff and new front office is coming in saying, this isn't my player.
Yep.
Maybe they don't like DeAndre Swift. That's a concern for me.
Because DeAndre Swift is really good at football.
Yeah. Or maybe they think he's a good running back, but maybe they think Jamal Williams is the starter. Maybe they think Jamal Williams is the guy that carries the backfield and Swift is more of a change of pace back. I'm not saying that that's true, and I'm not saying that's how I think, but this is a new coaching staff and a new regime. We don't know what they're thinking right now.
That sounds like the Lions thing to do, though.
God, I hate them so much.
21. This is where I have Melvin Gordon. Yes, I have him a lot lower than you do, where you have him at 13.
I
don't dislike Melvin Gordon. I think I was a little bit higher on him last year than maybe I even should have been. But I do expect them to do something else here until the start of the season. It's not going to be just the Melvin Gordon show, but I do think the volume is going to be there, and he's somebody who could creep up these rankings as we progress throughout the year. But at 21, this is where you have Rojo. And in years past, it was say no to Rojo. And we said it last year also. And I'm not going to come out and say that we were wrong. The problem is not Ronald Jones anymore. It's the usage of Ronald Jones that's the problem that makes him an absolute headache to start on a weekly basis.
At this point for me, it's, do they add anybody to the backfield with him?
Yep.
Do they get a deal done with Leonard Fournette and bring him back? If they do, Ronald Jones.
That's Super Bowl Lenny to you.
Super Bowl Lenny.
Yeah.
Whatever. But Super Bowl Lenny, do they bring him back? Do they add somebody? I mean, I mocked a running back to Tampa Bay in my first mock. Do they do? I don't know. I don't know. At this point for me, though, because of him being the only running back in that backfield currently outside of Keyshawn Vaughn, which I'm not a big Keyshawn Vaughn fan anyway. He's going to get the volume.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree.
So
Number 20.
Say maybe to Rojo.
Maybe to Rojo. Maybe. It's a hard maybe. It's like if you put caps lock on,
it's a maybe,
and then do maybe ish. #ish. Number 22. This is where I have Kareem Hunt. We saw both Hunt and Chubb be productive in Cleveland, and we're going to see it again. Kareem Hunt probably could be a little bit higher on this list. He's going to see a little bit more of the passing work that Chubb won't. The touchdown upside is going to be there, and the volume is going to be aplenty for both of those guys to still feast. This is where you have Chris Carson, who went back to Seattle at 22, which I don't hate. I still think he's very undervalued. It's always just the injury concern every single year with Chris Carson.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they're looking at, is Penny really the guy? If you thought Penny was the guy, I don't think you spend the money to bring back Chris Carson. Because it was a decent deal for both sides, but there's a little bit of money in that one. Right. So yeah, I think Chris Carson is going to be used. And like I said in the quarterback video about Russell Wilson, they've said that, we want to pound the football again. So, and with Kareem Hunt, I've got him quite a bit lower, down at 27. I think some of the vanity of signing Kareem Hunt is kind of worn off in Cleveland. I think part of it was like, we could have this huge monster. And he was brought in by Dorsey, who was in Kansas City when they drafted him. And Dorsey is not there anymore.
Where is he?
He's in Detroit. Anyway.
Sorry, I had to. Any opportunity I get, I had to.
So I think some of the allure of having Kareem Hunt, like this former RB1 top of the line guy in the backfield to complement, I think some of that's worn off a little bit. And I think he's very, very touchdown dependent now. And I think if you're starting Kareem Hunt, you're hoping he gets a touchdown. And if he doesn't, that could be an issue. And heading into this season with OBJ coming back, that's another weapon in the red zone. That's another guy to go to. That can end up hurting Hunt as well, because a lot of Hunt's like touchdowns are ones that come in the red zone when Chubb is coming off the field. Maybe Chubb doesn't come off the field as much next year either. So
never remove the Chubb.
Don't. If you've got Chubb, you keep it.
Just keep the Chubb as long as you possibly can, because at one point the Chubb ain't going to be there no more, and you're going to miss it. Number 23.
You have to artificially
enhance the Chubb. Number 23. This is where I have Chris Carson. We've talked about him. You have Josh Jacobs. Same thing. We've talked about with him as well as Kenny and Drake coming in. 24, though, we agree once again. We have Myles Gaskin as of right now at 24. So we don't know what to expect here, right? Because there have been a lot of rumors throughout the offseason. I mean, Aaron Jones was heavily rumored to Miami. As of right now, it seems like Myles Gaskin is the guy pre-draft. Now, does that stay the same post-draft is the biggest question mark. If it does, I may creep up Myles Gaskin a couple of spots. If it doesn't, and they bring in more running backs, Myles Gaskin may kind of stay in this 24 to 28 range. I do like Myles Gaskin, and you could tell last year they were dedicated to giving him the ball, and that's what we're looking for at this point of the running back rankings is touches, and Myles Gaskin could get it if he doesn't see more competition.
Yeah, I think 24 is a pretty nice spot for him, considering the fact that, Salvin Ahmed did such a good job when Gaskin was out. I think this is definitely a backfield that could see a lot of split touches with Gaskin, getting the majority of them. But how high efficiently can he go? I think that's kind of the question. The more efficient he is, the higher his fantasy football ceiling goes. But if he's not very efficient, if we're only seeing 4.1 to 4.4 yards per carry, not a whole lot of touchdowns, he might be a guy that you can flex on a weekly basis, but not much more than that.
Yep. 25. I have Chase Edmonds, Arizona Cardinals. A lot of people are going to think this is too low, because as of right now, he's the number one in Arizona, and I get that. But I am still a strong believer that Arizona is going to address the running back position in the upcoming NFL draft this year. I want it to be Najee Harris. Is it going to be? I don't know. Don't forget about Eno Benjamin. He's a Cliff Kingsbury guy from a year ago. He's somebody else who could be in the mix. The reason that Chase Edmonds was great at times last year is because the opportunities that he was given. He was given those primetime opportunities, 3rd and long, get him those short screen passes out of the backfield. I mean, they're running draw plays on 3rd and 19 at times, and he's picking up 22 yards because the defense is pulled back expecting the pass. I mean, Chase Edmonds benefited from a lot of bigger plays. I'm not going to call them, huge, home run plays, because it's not like he scored on all of them, but he benefited. And a lot of people just say, oh, Edmonds is better than Drake. No, Edmonds just had better opportunities. But when Drake went out, Edmonds wasn't no world beater by any means. There's going to be another back involved in this backfield. Who's it going to be? Benjamin or a high draft pick? That's what we would need to wait and see. At 25, though, you have Raheem Mostert of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, Mostert, we saw it last year, right? If he's on the field and healthy and he's playing, he's explosive. He can break off big runs. But again, kind of switching in and out running backs, are they going to do that again this season? Can he stay healthy? As far as Chase Edmonds goes, yeah, I agree. I think they potentially bring somebody else in to help out. I personally feel like the Arizona defense is a lot better than it was a season ago. I think there's going to be some guys that step up. I think the addition of J.J. Watt was big. But for some reason, if that defense doesn't take a step forward and we find it being inconsistent like it was last year, then we're going to see a whole lot of throwing. And also, don't forget, before the Kyler Murray injury, that dude was running and scoring a lot of touchdowns on the ground. That hurts Chase Edmonds.
Yep, 100% totally agree. I have Mostert one spot lower there, 26. At 26, though, you have Damian Harris, which is intriguing because James White not there. But it's always kind of been a what if in the backfield for New England, right? Who's it going to be? On a weekly basis, we just never know. Now, New England has gone out and spent a Brinks truck full of money this offseason. They haven't brought in anybody overly spectacular on the offensive side of the football, if you ask me. I mean, we talked to Chris Kennedy all the time. I said, that's great. You guys brought in a bunch of wide receiver threes. I mean, maybe you could trade in 3 of them for a wide receiver 1 at some point. I don't know. But they are better than they were last year. And that being said, if they can get some more leads, they could lean on a guy like Damian Harris, and having him right here at 26 for you isn't bad value if the guy can get the touches.
Yeah, give him the touches. And yes, the players that they added are not uber spectacular, but the players that they added can stretch the field, especially Nelson Aguilar. Having Edelman back fully healthy, that always helps as well. Is Cam Newton going to kind of get back, after having basically a year off being injured, last year coming back and trying to work his way back in a new system with really a lot over your head. I mean, filling in for Tom Brady is no easy task in New England. So, now that he has a year, how is that offense going to take a step forward? Damian Harris, I think, though, showed us and the Patriots down the stretch that he should be the guy.
Yeah, he when he got volume, he produced with it. Mm-hmm. He's just one of those guys that needs that 18 to 20 touches.
Yep.
We've already talked about the guys at 27 and 28 for both of us, but moving to 29, I have A.J. Dillon here, and we talked about this with Aaron Jones. I expect A.J. Dillon to kind of take over some of those touches vacated by Jamal Williams. We've seen this offense, utilize 2 running backs for multiple years. I don't expect that to change. I think Dillon may be a little bit more touchdown dependent than Jamal Williams was in years past, but they've both proven to be productive in that backfield. You have Devin Singletary of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Devin Singletary is by no means fabulous, extravagant, exciting, anything like that. If you do look at Devin Singletary on a per touch basis, though, he is still one of the more elusive running backs in the NFL. And you're going to hear him. I will be talking about this more over the offseason. I can't look. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit for you right now. I can't give it all to you. All right, just a little sprinkle. Okay. Anyway, so we'll talk more about Devin Singletary. AJ Dillon, for me, there's a lot of people that love A.J. Dillon. I don't necessarily not love him. I'm not saying I hate him or don't like him or anything like that. I'm just saying, even if he's used as an RB2, when could you ever start Jamal Williams if Aaron Jones was out?
You mean if you could start A.J. Dillon?
Yeah, so that's my thing. Like, if I'm putting him in the top 30, I'm basically saying like he can be a decent flex. But Jamal Williams has never been a flex. He's been a guy that when Aaron Jones is out, then you start Jamal Williams at that point. If you're in an emergency and it's a game where you think, they're going to get blown out, or they're not going to get blown out, but they're going to blow your team out, and you might see some more, then you put him in your lineup. A.J. Dillon, for me to kind of be in the top 30, I have to feel like I can plug and play him, and I don't know if I feel like that yet. I'm waiting for training camp and reports coming back to say there's going to be a larger than what Jamal Williams' role carved out for him.
Over, under, off the top of your head, 6 touchdowns, A.J. Dillon.
I'll take the over, but I think they're sporadic.
Either that, or I think it's going to be one game where he gets like 3 in one game.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean.
Nobody started him that week because he did nothing for the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, we'll have him as a sit that week, and he'll go off. Exactly. Yeah. Number 30, I have Leonard Fournette, who is currently unemployed, but I think it makes a lot of sense for him to go back to Tampa, to take a discount, to go back to Tampa, because we saw down the stretch that they finally figured out how to utilize Leonard Fournette. He's no longer going to be one of those guys that goes out and gets 20 to 25 touches and is a top 10, top 12, top 15 guy. But in an offense as high-powered as Tampa Bay, who's going to be in that many scoring opportunities this year once again, I think he's got that opportunity for touchdowns. I got Fournette at 30, banking on the fact that he re-signs with Tampa Bay. Obviously, if he goes somewhere else, completely different story. You have last year's darling at times, Nyheim Hines, who is now in a crowded backfield in Indianapolis.
One of the most frustrating players to own, I think, last year, because you'd put him in there and you'd bank on him being a decent flex option and nothing. And then you'd sit him the next week and it's like 30 points, son of a. So, we talked about it kind of before when we were talking about Jonathan Taylor, actually, before we started recording. We talked about Nyheim Hines, and I mean, the guy was getting goal line carries. He was used in the red zone. I mean, he's used in the passing game. They brought, Marlon Mack back. I think that's another backfield this year that could end up, being a headache for us. For Leonard Fournette, yeah, if this is a guy that gets signed, depending on where he gets signed, then we'll definitely have him in, or I will have him in my top 30 at that point.
Yep, agreed. All right, so those were our top 30 running backs, and I say this in almost every rankings video, and I'm sure some of you hate hearing it, but you got to take rankings for what they're worth, right? If everybody
Especially
agreed
in March.
exactly, if everybody agreed on rankings, why even do rankings? They're supposed to be different perspectives from different people to make you see a different side of each story. So I'm sure we're going to disagree on some of these things, and things are definitely going to change over the coming weeks and months a lot, especially even after the draft. We're going to continue to do rankings all offseason. Once we hit August-ish is when we're really going to try to start dialing in the rankings, and they'll be updated throughout the draft guide. If you're looking for a draft guide, it's available for pre-order. thefantasyheadliners.com, link down below in the description, $14.99. It's going to be right around 600 virtual pages of all things fantasy football related to help you dominate here once again. But as of right now, end of March, early 2021, these are our post-free agent-ish top 30 running backs here for 2021. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. We look forward to talking to you. Hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. We'll talk to you later.